Ever notice how, like, a movie can just make you feel a certain way?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the plot or the acting. I mean, like, just by the colors you're seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
We're going beyond just, like, pretty pictures here.
Right.
We're diving deep into the subtle art of color grading.
Oh, okay.
And let me tell you, after spending time with expert colorist Frank Glencairn's work, like on his website, Mastering Color Grading,
Yeah.
I'm convinced this is like next level visual storytelling.
It really is. And what I think is so fascinating about Glencairn's work is that he goes beyond just the basics. You know, he really dives deep into how color becomes this hidden language that filmmakers are using to like tap directly into your subconscious.
Okay, so we're all about going deep here.
Yeah.
Our mission is to basically equip you with enough color grading knowledge to not just watch a movie, but to like feel the why and how behind its visual choices.
Yeah. And one of Glencairn's key points is that color grading is not about just slapping on a trendy filter.
Yeah.
It's about making these deliberate choices that amplify the story. And so he uses the example of this classic teal and orange color combination. You know, the one we see in like tons of movies.
It's practically a cliche at this point.
Right. But Glencairn explains that it's not just about the colors themselves, it's about the science behind why they work.
Okay.
They're complementary colors on the color wheel, so they create this naturally pleasing contrast.
Right.
But here's where it gets interesting. Glencairn argues that this nostalgic effect is actually rooted in the chemical processes of old film stock, which naturally enhanced those hues. So even when it's recreated digitally, our brains still link this palette to a bygone era.
Oh, wow. So it's like a visual time machine.
Exactly.
It's tapping into our collective memory of those old photos and films.
Precisely. And that's just one example. Glencairn provides a ton of insights into how filmmakers use color to manipulate our emotions. He talks about how purple shadows, for instance, can be used to foreshadow danger or hint at something sinister lurking beneath the surface.
Ooh, purple shadows. That sounds like something straight out of a Hitchcock film.
Exactly. And think about it. Purple has long been associated with royalty and power, but it's also linked to mystery and even the supernatural.
Yeah.
So by subtly introducing those purple hues into the shadows, filmmakers can instantly create a sense of unease or suspense.
Huh. That's wild. Like, it's fascinating how just a hint of a certain color can completely change how we interpret what we're seeing.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that sometimes it's not about adding color, you know? Sometimes it's about embracing the absence of it, or even adding elements that we typically try to avoid, like grain.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I always thought the goal was to make the picture look as clean and sharp as possible, especially in, like, the age of digital filmmaking.
Yeah, that's a common misconception. Glencairn argues that striving for absolute clarity can actually make digital footage feel sterile and lifeless. He suggests that a touch of grain can actually enhance a film, giving it a certain texture and depth.
Now, that's not something you hear every day.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this whole embracing the grain idea.
Well, he compares it to the grain that you see in classic films shot on celluloid. It's like a subtle nod to the history of filmmaking.
Okay, yeah.
And it can add a layer of authenticity even to something that was shot, you know, recently.
Huh. So by adding grain, you're like giving digital footage that sort of classic cinematic feel?
Yeah, like it's been pulled from the archives.
Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. It's about evoking that feeling, you know, a sense of nostalgia or perhaps like a documentary rawness. And Glencairn even points out that different types of grain can be used for specific effects.
Okay.
Like, for instance, a fine grain that might give you more of a sense of realism,
Right.
whereas like a coarser grain could create a more dreamlike or surreal atmosphere.
That's amazing. It really makes you think about all those subtle tools that filmmakers have at their disposal. Now, what about other techniques, like split toning? I feel like I've been seeing that everywhere lately.
Yeah, split toning is definitely having a moment,
Right.
but it's more than just a trendy filter for Instagram.
Right.
Think of it this way. Split toning is about taking two different colors and assigning them to the highlights and shadows of an image.
Okay.
And this creates this very unique type of contrast that can completely change the mood and feel of a scene.
Okay, that makes sense. But do you have an example? I'm kind of a visual learner. Seeing it in action really helps me understand.
Absolutely. Imagine this. You're watching a scene and the highlights have this soft pastel pink tint,
Okay.
while the shadows are bathed in this deep teal.
Oh, wow.
And it creates this dreamy, ethereal look that you often see in fantasy films or like romantic comedies.
Oh, yeah, I can totally see that. Now that you mention it, I'm picturing specific scenes from movies like Moonlight and The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yes.
That soft, almost painterly look is definitely achieved through split toning,
Exactly. It can be incredibly effective in setting the tone and the atmosphere of a film.
for sure. So with all this talk about color and its effects, how can someone like me, someone who isn't a filmmaker, develop what Glenn Cairn calls a colorist's eye?
Well, Glenn Cairn believes it all starts with observation.
Okay.
Really paying attention to the colors that you encounter in your daily life.
Right.
Like, how does the quality of light change throughout the day? What colors dominate certain environments, and how do those colors make you feel?
Yeah, that's a good point.
He even suggests studying the color palettes of your favorite movies or paintings. Analyzing how color is used to tell a story or evoke specific emotions. Think about a movie you recently watched. Did you notice the colors?
Yeah.
Now imagine watching it again, but this time, pay close attention to how the filmmakers are using color to enhance the storytelling. You might be surprised by what you discover.
It's like he's encouraging us to become more aware of the visual language being used all around us.
Precisely. It's about becoming a more conscious viewer, noticing the subtle ways color influences our perceptions and emotions.
Yeah.
And for those who are creatively inclined, understanding color in this way can open up a whole new world of artistic possibility.
Absolutely. If you're trying to tell a story with images, color is an incredibly powerful tool.
It really is. And Glenn Cairn stresses the importance of not just understanding, color theory, Like warm colors, they typically evoke happiness. Cool colors can signal sadness.
Right.
But also developing your own instincts and preferences. Don't be afraid to experiment with unexpected color combinations or to break the rules to see what kind of unique looks you can create.
It's about finding that sweet spot between technical know-how and your own artistic voice.
Exactly.
Now, once you've developed your style, Glenn Cairn talks a lot about consistency, especially when working on bigger projects.
Yeah.
And this is where he brings up LUTs, which he says are crucial for maintaining a cohesive look.
Right.
Can you explain what LUTs are and why they're so important for colorists?
Absolutely. LUT stands for lookup table, and think of it like a preset filter for your footage.
Okay, so like those filters you see in photo editing apps, but for video.
That's a simple way to put it, but LUTs are much more powerful and versatile.
Okay.
They allow you to apply a specific color grade to your footage instantly,
Right.
which is incredibly helpful for maintaining a consistent visual style throughout a film or video, even if it's shot in different locations or lighting conditions. Glenn Cairn is a huge advocate for building a library of LUTs that reflect your preferred styles and genres.
So instead of starting from scratch with every new project,
Yeah.
you have this toolkit of your favorite color grading recipes ready to go.
Exactly. It not only streamlines your workflow, but it also helps you develop a signature style,
Yeah,
a thing that people will instantly recognize as your work.
right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like a chef having their go-to spice blends.
Yeah.
Or a musician having their signature sound.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious, color grading isn't a solitary endeavor, is it? There are directors, cinematographers. It seems like a very collaborative process.
You're absolutely right. Glenn Cairn actually dedicates a whole section of his site to the importance of collaboration, especially between the colorist and the director or cinematographer. He stresses that clear communication is paramount.
Which makes sense because ultimately it's the director's vision that the colorist is helping to bring to life.
Exactly. And it's not just about knowing the technical terms, it's about understanding the director's overall vision for the film. What mood are they trying to evoke?
Right.
What message are they trying to convey through the visuals? Sometimes it even helps to use visual references like specific scenes from other films or photographs or even paintings that capture the desired aesthetic.
So it's almost like the colorist becomes a translator, taking the director's vision and turning it into a reality through the language of color.
That's a great way to put it. And just like with any creative collaboration, feedback is crucial.
Right.
A good colorist is open to hearing the director's thoughts and suggestions.
Sure.
And they're willing to make adjustments to ensure that the final grade serves the story in the best way possible.
It really does feel like color grading is this kind of like fascinating blend of technical skill and artistic intuition.
It really is, and the best colorists, they possess this amazing ability to blend those two elements seamlessly.
Yeah.
They use their technical expertise not just to make images pretty, but to enhance that emotional impact,
Right.
to guide your eye across the screen and to tell the story in a way that goes beyond words.
Yeah, it's like this whole other layer of storytelling that like most of us aren't even consciously aware of.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool that can elevate a film from good to great, and yet it often works its magic on this subconscious level.
Right.
It's visual storytelling at its finest.
So after like diving deep into Frank Glencairn's insights, what's the one big takeaway that you're hoping listeners will walk away with?
For me, it's about recognizing that color is never an afterthought.
Yeah.
It's not just about making things look pretty.
Right.
It's a fundamental element of visual storytelling.
Yeah.
And it has this incredible power to shape our perceptions, to evoke emotions, and even influence how we understand a story.
So the next time you're watching a movie or a TV show, really pay attention to the colors on the screen.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by how much they're adding to the experience without you even realizing it.
Absolutely. Look for those subtle shifts in color,
Right.
those unexpected pops of color, and those carefully crafted combinations of hues and tones. It's like a whole new world opens up when you start paying attention to the language of color.
Yeah.
And who knows, you might even be inspired to experiment with color in your own creative endeavors.
Yeah, maybe you'll discover a hidden talent for color grading.
There you go.
So there you have it, a deep dive into the art and science of color grading.
Uh,
We've explored how color influences our emotions, how filmmakers use it as a storytelling tool, and even how you can start developing your own colorist eye. Until next time, keep those reels rolling, and remember there's more to color than meets the eye.